I've come tonight to the beautiful Church of St Mary's in Stockland Bristol, which is close to Hinkley Point Nuclear Power Station in Somerset. I'm here tonight because a beautiful barrel organ, which hasn't been heard playing for the best part of 100 years, has been restored by a local man, Peter Evans, and it's going to be played tonight, and we'll hear it for the first time for very, very many years. At the beginning, Peter's going to tell us a little bit about the organ and the work that he's done on it. And here on the right you can see the barrel mechanism, it's all open. Yeah. There's a list of all of the hymn tunes which is able to play, and also you can see that there are a number of stop controls to enable the person who's cranking the barrel to actually change the sound, the registration. They duplicate the stop controls which are on the main console at the front of the organ.
Good evening one and all, and welcome to St Mary Magdalene Church, Stockland. Well done on braving what was potentially bad weather, though actually hasn't been too bad. And before we go any further, and there will be people I'm sure coming and grabbing things, I had some phone calls from people asking for the postcode from places as far afield as Taunton, my goodness. So I expect we'll have some others coming along in due course. But just a few matters of housekeeping for you. I am delighted that Stockland Club have very kindly allowed us to use their car park, and to let you know that they will be open after the concert should anyone wish to avail themselves of the very reasonably priced bar. So do go on ahead if you would like to after the concert. There will be refreshments here provided in the church, so come and share in some of that at the end, and inevitably a plate for donations, very gratefully received. Thank you very much indeed. It was about a year ago that one of the members of our PCC, Robin Prowse, mentioned to me that he knew someone who might be interested in having a little look at our organ, and that perhaps it was something special. And I was very glad for him to come and have a look at it and to see what he made of it. Next time I think I thought about this was when I came in one day and found it in bits, literally, and thought, oh, it's a bit more than I was expecting, but my goodness, are we grateful. Peter has successfully restored the barrel organ at St Ethelreda's, or St Audrey's as we might know it, the church there, and he has spent many hours on ours, perhaps more than you were anticipating, but I'll let you discuss that in more detail. I can't tell you what it entailed, but he will do, and we are very much looking forward to hearing the results of his labour. But I cannot tell you, Peter, how grateful we are to you for what you have done.
It's been a pleasure.
Oh, well, we look forward to hearing from it, and I will pass you over now.
Thank you, Reverend Alison. I'm delighted to see so many people have turned out. It's brilliant, absolutely fantastic. Well done. I thought I would start off, believe it or not, by talking a bit about barrel organs, especially this particular organ. We will go on and play some tunes from the barrel organ and hopefully have a go at singing a hymn along with the organ. After all that effort, we can reward ourselves with a glass of wine or a soft drink. I understand that some food has also been laid on. At that point, you would be welcome to come and inspect the barrel organ itself. So, exactly what do we have here by way of a pipe organ? The correct term for this particular one is a barrel and finger organ. By that we mean the organ can be played like a conventional organ or piano, or alternatively, tunes can be played by mechanically winding a handle. The story of how I became involved with this rather special pipe organ is worth telling. There is another church with a barrel organ not far from here at West Quantock's Head. I've been caring and maintaining it for a while now. It's one of the only 3 remaining church barrel organs in Somerset. One day I was chatting to a friend of mine, Robin Prowse, who is involved with the church here. He will be cranking the handle of the barrel organ later on. Knowing my interest in church barrel organs, he told me the church in Stockland Bristol had one. I argued, it's not possible. Surveys of the county have been done in the past and there are just 3 left in Somerset. There had to be an investigation. Lo and behold, to my delight and amazement, it was, and is, a barrel organ, combined with a finger organ, which is quite unusual, sometimes called manual organ. I have no idea how this barrel organ had escaped recognition for all those years. On examination, it was clear the barrel organ section was inoperable and couldn't have played for a long time. All the mechanisms linking the barrel of the organ were missing, and remaining barrel parts were rusted and seized. Nevertheless, we had another Somerset barrel organ, very much worth restoring, and I hoped before too long would be heard again. Originally, the organ had 2 barrels. We only found 1. A subsequent visit revealed a small package of parts had been hidden inside the organ, wrapped in a stiff cartridge paper. It contained the 6 missing stop operating rods, and together with a small package wrapped in a piece of newspaper. The paper was gently teased out, being brittle and attacked by insects. Inside were all the 44 missing linking rods. A welcome bonus was the paper itself. It contained a letter to the paper, which was the national news, long defunct. The letter was dated the 19th of February 1920. That is the piece of letter which passed around. This meant the barrel organ itself had been out of action for over 100 years, possibly a lot longer, as in 1920, presumably not being used for some time, it was disconnected. So, 100 years ago, that means no one alive has ever heard this play. That was a clincher for me. I had to get it going again. Sadly, there was still no sign of the missing barrel or winding handle. The first visits were in April this year. I have been steadily working on it ever since, as Alison says. The barrel section was removed and restored in my workshop and tested some time ago. By then, though, I realised the organ itself needed a lot of attention, so I continued working on it. It still needs tuning. I will get to that in another day. There's a barrel. I might pass that around on its own in my workshop. The organ is a bit of a mystery. There is no maker's name, which is not uncommon. As a consequence, we don't have a date when it was made. When it arrived at the church is another mystery. Although there is some evidence it could have been installed as late as the 1920s. Where it came from and how much it cost, all unknown at present. We can make a couple of assumptions. Various aspects of the organ lead me to believe it was made around the middle of the 19th century, about 1845, 1850. It was almost certainly purchased for this church second-hand. The organ itself is a quality instrument and contained within a solid English oak casing, very much in the Victorian Gothic style. To highlight how rare and important this organ is, there are only 5 others in English churches, and this is the only one in Somerset. The manufacture of church barrel organs largely took place from around 1790 to 1860. Barrel and finger organs like this one were manufactured in much smaller quantities, and the majority were made from 1835 to 1860-ish. So what then is a barrel organ? I think most people associate barrel organs with street musicians of old, the ones carrying a box with a winding handle. Winding the handle produced a tune. Very often they would have a monkey to collect money. These instruments were not necessarily barrel organs. It became rather falsely a generic term for any kind of musical instrument played by winding a handle. The term hurdy-gurdy was also used, another misnomer. Okay, so what exactly is a barrel organ? In its simplest form, it is rather like those little musical boxes you may have had many years ago with a birthday card or Christmas card. You placed the box on the table and cranked a little handle. That turned a small cylinder on which were inserted many pins. As it revolved, the pins struck a row of tuned brass reeds, and we got something like Happy Birthday or Jingle Bells. The church barrel organ is a greatly scaled up version, but instead of the music coming from brass reeds, the pins are used to operate mechanisms that allow air into various organ pipes. Whereas the cylinder or the barrel on the little toy is not much more than 30 millimetres long, so long, just over an inch, here we have a barrel of 3 feet in length and 9 inches in diameter. A bit different. The barrel is covered in hundreds of what appears to be staples, but we call them pins. They make up a total of 8 tunes on this organ. Currently, research is going on to find out all the churches of England which may have had a barrel organ installed at any time in the past. The Somerset list at present stands at over 50, still climbing, but we suspect there were many more than that. There are now just 4 left in Somerset churches, all of them working. Are you surprised that churches ever had barrel organs? Why do you think the church would want one, when more than likely there were local musicians happy to provide music for the church? Anyone like to hazard a guess why they installed barrel organs? No, right. Can't tell you that in that case. It was really all about teaching children to sing hymns. The barrel organ was an ideal way. You didn't need musicians and you didn't need an organist, just someone to crank a handle at a steady speed. You could always co-opt one of the children. A big influence also was fashion, always a driver of change. Manual pipe organs for churches were becoming more desirable from the early 19th century, but they were expensive. It wasn't just the purchase, you had to find an organist and pay them a salary. Manual pipe organs were out of reach for the majority of parish churches. A barrel organ would fall more easily into their budget. Local parish musicians, some of whom may have played for the church, could have been unreliable. If you have ever read Thomas Hardy's novel Under the Greenwood Tree, published in 1872, you will know about the effect of a recently installed pipe organ on the church band. Not good. So the barrel organ would give a very accurate rendition of a hymn or psalm tune. It could be repeated any time with just the winding of a handle. With larger organs, such as this one, 2 people were needed to operate the organ. One to crank the handle and the other to pump the air, or wind as it is correctly termed, for the organ. This organ has been updated with an electric blower, probably in the 1960s. So the pumping handle is now redundant and only one person is needed to play it. I'll just say a little bit about the tunes. You may wonder how they managed with just 6 tunes, or 12 if you include the Lost Barrel. You would imagine they could only sing 12 hymns. That was not actually the case. If you can match the rhythm of the hymn to the rhythm of a tune, called the meter, you can then sing almost any hymn with that same tune meter. This vastly increased the number of hymns that could be sung to a barrel organ. We have 8 tunes on our remaining barrel. 6 are hymn tunes, and the other 2 are chants. Many Psalmodic barrel organs were pinned with 1 or more chants from the late 1830s. The singing of chants became more popular in parish churches. In order to change to a different tune, we move the barrel a fraction laterally, so the barrel organ keys, separate from the keyboard ones, engage with a different set of pins. As a consequence, line up with a different tune. Before we continue to play the organ, has anybody any questions? Hopefully I may be able to answer. John.
In the constricted space there, would it ever be possible to have 2 people, one doing the hand and one doing melodies?
Yes, but it would be very expensive because the bellows are broken.
No, I mean, before it was electrified, it was feasible to have 2 people.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the first part of the question.
Before the electric pumps went in,
Yes.
would it have been room to have 2 people behind the organ?
Oh, yes. Yeah. Just. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so if you want to know more about barrel organs or listen to some barrel organ tunes, we have booklets and CDs for sale, normally £5 each. The booklet covers barrel organs in general, their history and how they work. Tonight the pair are on offer for £7.50. All proceeds go towards the upkeep of this church. Robin has finally offered to crank the handle of the organ tonight, and I've seen him limbering up for the last 20 minutes at the back there. Or is he trying to escape? He's obviously very anxious to get cranking. Just before we start, please think about this. With music directed at us constantly wherever we go, it is rather difficult for us to imagine the wonder that parish folk would have felt on hearing an instrument like this for the first time. Probably the only musical instrument they had heard up to then may have been a fiddle or a flute. Try to imagine how it would feel for the parishioners to hear a barrel organ for the first time. We think Victorians must have sung hymns at a rather slower pace than we do today, as barrel organs play at a steady, slow and sedate pace. They are not to be hurried. Our first tune will be the Old 100th, written in 1551. A man at the back needs to get somewhere near the organ, because we're about to go. Written in 1551, described in 1923 and in a 1923 book by Reverend MacDermot as one of the old and simple tunes introduced from Germany in the days of the Reformation, sung to Psalm 100. All people that on earth do dwell. It can be found in the Green Hymn Book, the New English Hymnal, hymn number 334. Wasn't that just great? Right. The next tune is called Malcolm. Normally sung as a hymn used every morning is for love. In the green hymn book it is 238, red and book number 4. It was composed by Samuel Webb in 1782. His father died soon after Samuel was born, and the family lost their financial security. In consequence, he received little education. Apprenticed to a cabinet maker at 11 years old, he was determined to study, and he taught himself Latin, Greek, Hebrew, French, German, and Italian while working on his apprenticeship. Well, I wonder what he did in his spare time. Robin? There's 8 of them in a line, about that far apart. So you divide an inch into, well, less than an inch, into 8. So that's how much you move it every time, just a fraction.
And just so I can imagine while this is playing, are the keys going like a ghostly piano?
They do, yes.
Oh,
You can
excellent.
see. Yes, with nobody playing.
Cool.
Right, that was Malcolm. By way of a change, we'll now play a double chant. You remember I said that they put chants on barrels now and again. This one's called Mornington. It was written in 1760 by Garrett Colley Wesley. He was Earl of Mornington and father of the Duke of Wellington. So, next one, Robin.
Can I just ask a question? Are we meant to be listening to the first verse and then singing, or are we
you might actually have bits which are longer than other bits, so depending on how many words are in a particular verse. You could have slowed down for a bit and then sped up.
Slow down, yeah. With this particular organ you can. A lot of barrel organs you can't do that because the winding handle actually did the pumping of the air as well. But this particular one, they're separate. And the same with the West Context. So you can stop the organ and just continue the note continuously if you want to.
Excellent.
Can you make it louder and softer?
There is a swell there, but it doesn't make it terrific. The swell's at maximum, so that's as loud as we can ever get. It always stops around. It's not terribly loud by organ standards.
Hasn't anybody produced a gadget which would recognise the winding? In other words, electrifying the winding.
Oh, we wouldn't want that. That's the whole idea.
I'd say the likes of Robin.
I don't have that much sympathy.
As long as you wind, does it continue to play the same tune if you don't move it?
It will play the same thing. Yeah.
So, because when we sing, obviously we're only listening to two verses of the hymn, so you could play it, continue to wind it, so you hear it play it, so you can sing all of the verses.
Yeah, I mean, Robin's winding it around 3 times.
Right.
But the next one, I think it's the next one. Which one did we do last, Robin?
The chant. The chant.
The chant it was, yes, okay. So, right, we're good. After this one, we'll go on and sing. So you can, well, you can sing to this one if you want to. So the next one's called Mount Ephraim. This is a Methodist tune by Benjamin Milgrove, written around 1775. Methodist tunes were popular and were frequently used by the Church of England. It was written in the latter half of the 18th century. Milgrove was an organist in Bath. It was sung to many hymns, including For All Thy Saints, O Lord. In the green hymn book, it is number 224, the red book 531.
how is it achieved? Is it the length of your staples?
Yes. Yeah. In fact, you could drone it all the way through if you ran the staples continuously. In fact, they do that sometimes. Yeah, you get a continuous drone. Right. Now we come to a tune called Rockingham. This is your part. The hymn is When I Survey the Wondrous Cross. The Green Book is hymn 95. It would be splendid if we could all try singing to this one, so I'm sure you will. It was composed by Edward Miller in 1790. He was the organist at Doncaster Minster for 50 years. He was also a flautist in Handel's orchestra. We will play it through once as an introduction, which takes about 45 seconds. Then you come straight in with When I Survey. Unfortunately, this tune does highlight the organ's need for tuning, but please try and ignore it. So here we go.
What's the number in the red book?
108.
108. 108, yes. 4 verses. 4. Well, yes, sorry. Yeah.
Are we sitting or standing for this one?
Whatever you like. If you feel comfortable standing, stand. I'm standing, so.
We'll stand.
Yes, there you are. You standing. Introduction first. We go through once with the introduction. so feel free now to come and inspect the pipe organ. The barrel bit is round the back, and so you'll hopefully answer all your questions about the technical side of it. We will continue to play another tune. It is called Adeste Fidelis, also known as a Portuguese hymn. Written in Latin and composed by John Francis Wade in 1743. You will know the tune by another name. We will be hearing it a lot in the next months. The words will be found in the Green Book, probably don't need them, hymn 30. We will play a few verses. Feel free to join in. Thank you very much.
Before we play, thank you, Peter. Thank you so much.
It's been a pleasure.
Well,
the whole thing has been a pleasure.
We are the beneficiaries of your pleasure. So excellent. And thank you also to those who put on refreshments. That's so wonderful. Do partake of them as we listen. But Peter, well done. Thank you so much. And Robert.
Question.
Before we go, my second question is, presumably in the wrong position.
Yeah.
So when it slipped across the next two, it would start in the wrong place. Is that right?
It would indeed, yes. In fact, you're likely to get into trouble. You're likely to do some mechanical damages if you do that. It needs to go all the way around, yeah. On this particular.
Was there another verse too?
Yes, there was Stockland.
Where was it?
Yes, yeah, that threw me.
Yeah.
So that was fine.
We worked around it somehow or another, as ever. Right, thank you. Oh. Hi. Not a lot